shock. I laid on the bed and looked up at the ceiling in my boyfriend's room. Hours, or maybe just minutes had passed by the time I heard him push open the door. He was still a little tipsy, unlike me, who'd been the designated driver for the night. As I slowly sat up, my boyfriend could tell something was wrong. "You okay?" he asked, pulling his shirt over his head and lying down on top of the covers next to me. I remained quiet, as the scene I had just witnessed unraveled in my thoughts, and the truth of what very well might have happened if I hadn't intervened became more and more real. "She could have been raped," I said to him. The word seemed so severe, yet no other word fit in its place. "What?" he asked. "He could have raped her," I spoke back. Tom reached for my hand and asked me to explain, but how could I tell him when the guy was one of his closest friends? Was a guy that, until now, I had considered one of my friends. The girl's name was Laura. She was a freshman, came off as quiet the first time we met. I hadn't paid much attention to her at the beginning of the party, but by the end of the night, it became clear she had way too much to drink. She was sitting in the backyard with her head between her knees, an older junior guy with his arm around her, talking in her ear. There were people all around, but everyone was in their own drunken haze. I went over to ask if she needed a ride, and the situation slowly became confrontational. Laura was too dizzy to be encouraged to move to the car, and the guy kept saying she was fine. "I've got this, don't worry about it. She's good with me," he said with a slight slur, becoming weirdly protective and pulling her closer to him with his arm. "It's cool, I've got a car and I'm sober." I reached down for her hand, but she moved them both up to her face, shaking her head and leaning away from the guy. "Laura, I really think it's time for you to come home." "It's fine, I'm taking her back. I want to take her back." Laura began to lean further out, shrugging her shoulders as if to shrug him off, but his arm held her there tightly. "No, she's to go back now, and she needs someone sober to take care of her." "Stop being such a bitch. Everything's under control." Startled by the hostility of a guy I had never seen as anything but goofy and fun, I called over another girl to help. We finally got Laura in the car and for the guy to leave her alone, but I still felt shaken. Maybe I was being overprotective, overreacting, I said now to my boyfriend. Maybe it truly would have been fine. I wanted so badly to push away my doubts, but Laura was so drunk she could barely speak. The thought of her alone in a room with a guy scared me. Was I just a fun sucker? The way he said bitch rang in my ears. "He's just like that with girls sometimes," my boyfriend said. "But it's probably a good thing you drove her home." I didn't know how to respond. What the fuck was that supposed to mean? Did it mean I had done the right thing, that something bad probably would have happened? And how was he so nonchalant? "Tom, has he done stuff like this before?" "I don't know. I don't get why he made such a big deal out of it. If she wanted to say no, she could have. Clearly, she wanted it." Again, flabbergasted. Laura had been too drunk to say coherent sentences, which means she was in no place to give consent, let alone think for herself. Everything about the situation became even more real to me. I was suddenly aware of how deeply ingrained victim blaming is within our culture. Of course a freshman would be excited by the attention of an older guy. Of course if she had dressed that way and gotten that drunk, she'd wanted something. If this is how people react, then we shouldn't be surprised by the alarming statistics reported year after year. 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted by the time they graduate. Please visualize that for a second. That means every 4th female in this room, every 4th female you pass on the quad, every 4th female in this sorority. As women, we're told it's our responsibility to watch out for our friends. Our responsibility to be careful with how much we drink so we don't get taken advantage of. I guess I never realized that guys aren't told these same messages because, for the most part, they don't need to be. targeted via blackout. They don't have to worry about taking a couple extra shots. They don't have to worry about walking anywhere alone. So, why does this mean they can be left out of the dialogue? Can't they play just a bigger role in stopping these types of catastrophes from happening? Whether it be intervening if a friend is too drunk to make the right call, or condemning their actions when they cross the line. Don't get me wrong. I think women also play an important role in continuing culture of victim blaming. But men matter in this. When it comes to sexual assault, it's not just what you'll teach your daughter. It's what you tell your son.